Hello, Algebra 2 students. Today we are going to be moving on to 0.8, which is on graphing linear equations and inequalities. So our essential question, really simply, is how can linear equations and inequalities be graphed if they are in slope-intercept form or standard form? So there's a couple different ways we're going to see this. So let's jump into it. So first, let's talk about slope-intercept form. And you guys have done this a lot, but again, we always got to revisit this and make sure we have this down. So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay? And within this form, remember the m, that right there is our slope. Okay? And so this number that's right in front of the x, that gives us our slope, which we talked about in the last lesson. And then the b, that gives us the y-intercept. And you'll see this in a second, like what the y-intercept is. But the y-intercept, remember, is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. All right? And so that's what slope-intercept form is. And basically, if you see an equation in this form, then what you have is you have a straight line. And you will be able to graph it just by using the slope and the y-intercept. So let's jump in and look at that. So I have this equation here, y equals 2/3 x plus 5. It says I want to identify the slope and y-intercept and then graph it. Okay? Well, this is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. All right, and so we just want to go through and identify, okay, right here, that 2/3, that is our slope. And then this 5, well, that is our y-intercept. Okay? And that's the information we're going to need. 2/3 is our slope, 5 is our y-intercept. So we go to our graph. When you are graphing these, you want to start with the y-intercept. And that's, I always say it's a b because that means beginner. It's where we're going to start. And so we start with the y-intercept. 5 is where our line is going to cross the y-axis. Now remember, the y-axis is the vertical axis. And so we go on this vertical axis here up to 5, and we put a dot. Okay? That is where we're going to start. That's our y-intercept. And so that's our first point. We know the line is going to cross through there. Then, just like yesterday, we can use our slope to find more points. Well, our slope, what does it tell us? It tells us we have a rise of 2 and a run of 3. And so from this point, where are we going to go? Well, rise of 2 means go up 2. Run of 3 means go to the right 3. So we go from here up 2 to the right 3. And we put a dot. All right? And we could keep going up here, but that's going to kind of go off the graph. So remember, once you go off the graph, you can actually just go the opposite way. So rather than going up and to the right, we could go down and to the left. And so we'd go down to left 3, down to left 3 like that. And then we have a bunch of points, connect them up. And that is our graph. Okay? And that's basically what you want to do. Just identify the slope, identify the y-intercept. You put the y-intercept down, and then you use the slope to find the other points. Now, I do want to look at a couple specific examples to make sure we have this down, but that's the basic idea. So the first one is y equals 2x minus 3. The reason I wanted to look at this one is mostly because of the slope. So first we identify the slope and the y-intercept. So remember, slope is our number next to the x, so that'd be 2. Y-intercept is the number out here, well, that'd be a negative 3. All right? When we graph, we're going to start with our y-intercept. Well, our y-intercept is at negative 3, so we go on the y-axis here, the vertical axis, down to negative 3, and we put a dot. Then our slope is 2, and this sometimes causes students confusion because, like slope, it's rise over run, it's a fraction. Well, if that's the case, if you don't have a fraction there, remember, any number is always just over 1. And so even though the slope just says 2 here, that's the same as 2 over 1, which means we have a rise of 2, a run of 1. So from our y-intercept, we'll go 2 up, that's our rise of positive 2, and 1 to the right, that's our run of positive 1. And then we can just keep going, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and so on. Right? And remember, we could also go in the opposite direction, down 2, left 1, like that. Go ahead and connect those up. And there's our graph. All right. Then let's look at one more. And this one, we talked about it in the last lesson, but I want to talk about it again. This is all about having a negative slope. So on this one, our slope is negative 4/3, right? Just the number next to the x. Our y-intercept, well, that is a positive 1. So again, we start with our y-intercept, go on the y-axis to positive 1, put a dot. And then with a negative slope, remember, this could be negative 4 over positive 3, or it could be positive 4 over negative 3. Basically, you got to choose either the rise to be negative or the run to be negative, but not both of them. So if we're going to graph this, let's see, if we did this one, negative 4 over positive 3, that would be down 4 and to the right 3. So from our y-intercept, we go down 4 and to the right 3. Down 4 to the right 3. Okay? Now that's one way we could do it. The other way is do positive 4 over negative 3. And so that would be up 4 and left 3, right? A rise of positive 4 is up, run of negative 3 is left. So we go up 4, left 3, put a dot there. And then I've got enough points here. We could keep going if we wanted, but that's plenty of points. We can go ahead and graph it. And that's our graph. So I'm going to have you do a question here. It's going to be multiple choice, so you got to pick the right question. Actually, no, I think it's matching. This one's matching, so you have to match up an equation with its graph. Okay? So try that out. We'll come back here, and then we'll talk about, like, what if our equation isn't in slope-intercept form.